Hey. Okay, normally it should be starting out. Let us see. We are live. Hey everyone, welcome to this live stream. We're going to do something different than usual, but something very important. I wanted to do this for a while. We're going to look at video editing in Blender. And I'll lower the audio here. Is the sound okay? Is everything okay? Please tell me in the chat. And hello, how are you doing as well? You can tell me this. Just have to grab the tablet, which is on the side here. Maybe hide my face here. It's not very cool to see the animation going on because I don't have the other tablet anymore. Okay, the sound is good. Ah, come on. Don't do this live. Nah. Why does it do this now? Come on. Okay, we're going to calibrate real quick. Okay, we're done. So, the first step when we are starting a project with Blender, the sequencer is something a bit special that you may not have to do. Hey, I ask you to stop the video. Thank you. It's we have to create proxies when we are editing videos in general. So proxies are lower resolution versions of your videos, of your footage, and Blender can generate them for you. The problem is performances. So I'll place the keyboard. I didn't think about this. First time streaming with this setup, so it's a bit unusual for me, but let's see. Okay, the video, come on, the shell is really big. Let's try this. I cannot even lower the size. We'll have to do with this. So, I have a utility and the add-on I'm working on that's called Build FFmpeg proxies. This one is going to create proxies for your videos. So you call Python the script followed by the folder in which you'd like to run the script. So let me show you. This is the demo folder in my video project. These are very small videos. I've prepared the others before the stream. So I'm going to copy the path to the folder and pass it in here in the shell. And this one is going to generate the proxies, but with FFmpeg, with much more reliable, how can I say? It's going to be faster than if you do it in Blender, but it also does things that Blender cannot do. For example, it can find transparent images and create transparent proxies for them. So you run the script and it's going to create proxies in batch for everything it finds. Okay, you can put it at the root of a folder and it's going to find all pictures and videos as well. No problem. So it's done here. The encoding was very fast with the shell. In Blender, it's only going to use one CPU core, so it's very slow. I'll cut everything here. You can see it generates a BL proxy folder, just like Blender does, and paste it in my video folder where I have everything. I can now remove the demo folder. So for this tutorial, we are looking at the jump tutorial, the last videos at the bottom, which I called 08 and it was 09. Oh, that's not a problem. So here's how I structure a video project. It's important as well because if you don't get this right, you can have some issues. It's not Blender related, but when you edit a video, it's a bit like when you create a game. You're going to have lots of assets all over the place. You want to keep them organized. So at the root of my folder, I have the Blender file in which I'm going to edit all related videos. Here it's a series of 11 videos, tutorials for the Godot course. I may also have sometimes screenshots, but that's not as important. That I know that I place them there And then the most important part is I have the audio, image, and video folders that the Blender add-on uses. You can find a link to it in the description, by the way. So in the audio, you can place some raw web files, things like these. In image, you can have any folders however you'd like with lots of pictures in them. And in the video folder, you can place all your footage. The reason you want to organize it this way is, for one, it's easy to keep track of everything, to go find the source audio, for example. If you have some recordings made with an audio program, it's separate from your videos. The other reason is that the add-on can use these to do this. That's the first function. Forgot about Keycasto. Yeah, so this is Christmas. I'm tired. I'm missing out on sleep. No, it's not here. It's right there. There you go. So you can see the keys now, and I type. You can see the shortcuts and all. And you can do this. So I'm in Blender. I have a scene that's exclusive for this video. You can create multiple videos in the same blend file. You can see the edits here, all the cuts and all. And I create a new scene for each video. So you can press Ctrl-Shift-I. It's on the wrong screen now. Come on. I really didn't prepare the stream. Right, I finished recording the video really late. So this is a utility for Windows. You have much better tools on Linux for things like these. I think I'm going to... come on, the overlay is bugging again. So I think it's not even in development anymore. We're going to align it right. I think it'll be much better this way. Okay, save. Does it work? No, it doesn't. Welcome to these things on Windows. Not the absolute best. Yeah, because the problem is, look, it's taking my mouse pointer. It's offsetting it, but I think in the end it uses the mouse cursor position. Yeah, that's that. Okay. So I'm going to click down there and hopefully, yes, this works now. Okay, magic. So first thing with the add-on is you don't have to add the video strips like usual by pressing Shift-A. You can use the import local footage operator, Ctrl-Shift-I, and voila! I forgot to update the paths as well. So okay, it's imported a bit more content than it should have, but the tool makes it so it detects what you've already imported before. Oh, come on, you're not going to mess up the... It's inverted the click again. Okay, great. Right click and middle click. Thank you. So, okay. The add-on is going to detect what's not been imported yet and only import that. The problem I have here is that I work with multiple computers, and right now it's not set up for this. Okay, so you can see it's imported all the videos. You have a little offset in some places because you have audio strips that are 1 frame larger than the video strips. This happens when you import the strips from Python. It's a really minor issue. I'm also going to check that it's not messed up the frame rate, because Blender does not support working with multiple frame rates at the same time, and it should be NTSC film. So this is what Blender marks as 23.98. And it's good here, because the one issue with Blender is if you have multiple sources of footage that have different frame rates, it's not going to it's not going to work well. You're going to have strips that don't have the right size. It can mess up your project. Okay, we have, it's interesting. So let's block. Blender has an outdated key logging add-on, but really outdated. It doesn't render right in the last versions. Okay, so first thing, I'm going to clean up the strips to make sure they are the same size so we can align the audio. So for that, again, that's part of the add-on. A lot of features I'm using are part of the add-on, and Blender is pretty nice by default. The problem is there are lots of improvements you can make to work faster, and that's what I've been working on. So first, when you select a strip, Shift G lets you select a handle. It doesn't work. I forgot to yeah, I forgot to update the key maps. Okay, that's not a problem. We'll live without it. Okay, I'm just going to make the audio and video the same size and we're good to go. Player walk and run, character anim, view 6. No, I think I've got, yeah, I see I've got an issue. I haven't updated the add-on. I think it's not the right version here. Didn't think of it as well, but let's do this, otherwise it's going to cause some issue. Because as I'm doing development, continuous development on the add-on, sometimes it can get a bit messy around here. Okay, I'll just copy the files over. Blender Foundation. Yeah, I see. I don't even have the right Blender version installed actually on this computer. So this is a sim link. Alright, but to the wrong place. Let's add you again. I'm going to paste the add-on, and I want to paste the key maps as well. Yeah, the latest key maps are actually much bigger than okay, so I've got the new key maps. I'm going to quit here because otherwise the stream's not going to go well. Okay, there we go. We're back to it. I'm using OBS for screencast. And let's see, the preferences, add-ons, we're going to grab the power sequencer. Okay, should be all right now. And I'm going to change the key maps to power sequencer again. All right, we're good to go. So I'll add the jump tutorial back, 09.jump, and import everything with Control-Shift-I. Let's see. Yeah, okay, it's all right if you can't load the WAV file. Sounds like a bug, and you can see it imported much more footage than before. So we're going to go up to the jump here. Doesn't work. Snap selection to cursor. I added this one this morning. Strange. All right, so yeah, I've got to clean this up. Let's see if Shift G works. No, it doesn't. Alt G doesn't. What's that? Got to clean it up by hand. Okay, I'll have to prepare better next time. Because lately I've mostly been recording and coding here and editing at home at night on the tablet. but on the tablet directly. Well, right now it's connected to the computer, so it's working a bit differently. Slumber is asking to you, what is the tool you use to display the keys? It's called Keycasto. It's the development stopped. Keycasto, I think that's how you write it. And Keith is asking, do you use the Kinoro tools? So no, Kinoro tools is an old add-on. Excuse me, old add-on that's been added to the Blender trunk, and the guy doesn't work on them anymore. They're really not documented. I use my own add-on, which has more features for editors. One issue I've found. Wow, what's this line of code doing here? Yeah, okay, I've really messed up the code this morning. There's something fishy going on. Let me fix this. Otherwise we'll get this error every time. So let's see, we're going to open it in Emacs. Should be in, where did I put it? Video editing, okay. All right, come here, Emacs, and let's fix the code real quick. So it should be border select. There we go. So yeah, I don't use. I started using other add-ons. I really didn't want to code my own. I've had the hardest time working. Why is it? Okay, the file was locked. That's why. And the problem is, I've never been able to keep in touch with those people. I think all the video editors who worked with Blender, they tend to move to other programs, because if they do professional video editing, they have to use Final Cut, Premiere, something that other people use in their workflow. You don't really have the choice. So yeah, in the end, I was using Blender Velvet at first, and the thing is, there's no active development on it. The guy is around, he makes sure that the add-on works with new versions of Blender, but it's been hard to communicate with him. I offered to help with code. He said okay, but in the end, I mean, maybe took 1 month to get one email reply, so I started coding my own. Same thing with Kinoro. I've tried to contact him to offer to help maintain the add-on. No reply, so I just said, you know what, screw it. We're going to keep working on our add-on and just have something that's maintained and all. So in the end, the add-on right now, Power Sequencer, has more features than all these, and you're going to see one big reason to use it is the editing workflow is much faster than anything you'll find in Blender. So in particular, there are mouse-related tools to do this, to quickly cut, trim, anything. So I'm cutting and trimming, it goes very fast. You can see if I make larger trims, what's happening on the screen. In a non-modal way, so it's instant feedback, instant effects. I have other tools like this. You can fold a gap, what I call cut and fold. So you can remove space when you have cut a bit of audio and you don't need the video. In one click you can remove this, trim it automatically. Lots of small things like these, automated imports, automated export as well. It's not going to work on this version because I forgot to update Blender in the office. It's for 2.79, but with this said, we can get started editing. The first step is, you're going to see it's very repetitive. Sadly, it's not the most fun job, but the first step is to do a pass to find the places to cut and trim. So you can see some vertical cuts in the timeline, and these are times when I'm editing and I clap. I got this from Heartbeast, who has another channel, and he told me it's how he edits. When he makes a big mistake, he just claps 3 times, something like that, and then he can see 3 slices on the waveform. So by the way, with the tool, you can toggle waveforms on and on with W. There are lots of shortcuts like these. I will likely forget to tell you some because I use it all the time, and for me it's almost like it's normal Blender. But in the video description and as part of the add-on, that's another reason why I'm making it, you will find tutorials for it, and the tutorials are not only for the add-on, there are tutorials dedicated to how Blender works. How can I say? Yeah, there are the things that are good in Blender from scratch that I didn't want to touch, and the things that have been changed by the add-on. So there's a growing list of tutorials for these. I think 13 or something. Big Dev says, I have such a powerful PC, I can live stream in full HD and edit a video in full HD with no lag at all. So no, that's not the case at all. The video here is 480 times 270. I'm using... Anyway, one thing that's very important is Blender, the video sequencer, can only use 1 CPU core, so the rest of your processing power is going to be free for something else. That's a limitation, by the way. It's I'd say in some regards it's okay. I can explain why. The main thing is because when you're done editing a video, you can start a render. It's going to use 1 CPU core, and you can start another instance of Blender and edit the next video. And even if you have 4 cores, you can render 2 videos and still have 2 CPU cores free to work on anything you'd like. So for me, it's okay that the rendering times are slow because of that. This has one limitation though. I'm working with 25% proxies. So these are videos shrink down 4 times. Okay, when you are editing a tutorial, it's okay, but you can see if I zoom in that the video quality is very low. So for a tutorial, again, it's fine in a program and all, it's okay. But if you are working on more professional footage and you need to render with the full video, I can show you what it gives you. We're going to, okay, we're not going to do it this way. We're going to tab here. Isn't tab? It's control tab. Okay, we're going to control tab here. I will deactivate the proxies here. Yeah, it's deactivated. Go there. Control tab again. So now it's trying to render at full size. If I try to drag, look at what happens. Look at how slow the cursor is. Come on! Excuse me. The alarm taking off on its own. Thank you, alarm. So yeah, it's extremely slow. The issue is, for one, it's MP4. It's not video tailored for a video editor, so the performances are very low. There are lots of technical reasons for why things are this way and all that. It's a bit complicated. When you use MP4, you're going to have low performances overall. And on top of that, yeah, if you don't have the proxies, Blender cannot really work for you. And it's the case with most video editors. You have to generate proxies, but other editors can be powerful enough. They may use all CPU cores plus the GPU to preview and render. And because of that, you can work at almost full resolution. You may not be able to work at 4K, but you can work in full HD or HD ready and have a crisp enough image to make your changes. So that's important to know. That's something, I mean, with the improvements in the next version of Blender 2.8, the sequencer is getting, can I say, a little better because of the ability to fully customize the UI and the ability to manage assets differently. but at the same time, there's no real active development on it. There are some small improvements going on. However, for the performance part, the engine, it seems, would need a complete rewrite, and right now there's no developer to do this. It's not a priority. Alright, first pass now. We're going to move on. I have to do something else, so it's not too bad for you. I'm going to grab... we'll see how we can do this, because I've got to listen to the audio. And it shouldn't go through in the stream. Did you fork your own Blender? Because in the stream description you write that you customize Blender. No, that's not what I wrote. Yeah, I mean you can customize things, be it the key maps and all, from Python. You also have some, I mean, all the interface, you can change it with Python as well. All the files are available. If you click on anything, you can edit the source right in Blender. All the interface at least is defined in Python. So now let me see, because if I start to drag, you're going to have terrible audio in your ears. Alright. Playback devices. Let's use the headphones. Okay, I can hear the music. Let's see how it is. Okay, it's not updating for the device. I have to restart Blender. Let's see if I click and drag. I guess I don't have two desktop audio sources, so let's see what we do here. Because yeah, I can use, I only have one audio out here, so I'm going to deactivate, stop the music for this one, so it doesn't crush your ears too bad. Okay, and let's see, increase the audio here in the headphones. Right. Do you get the video's audio? I think I can change it. Ah, come on. It doesn't seem to work here. If I set it like this. Okay. Modify the audio properties. Headphones. Okay, so now you should get... Yes, and I'm going to lower it quite a lot. So you're going to get just a bit of mutter in the background, but that's quite important, because otherwise it's hard to understand how you edit and how you use the tools. Hey, Alone Snow, welcome. So, for the first pass, I'm looking for the claps, like this. And tell me if the audio is too high, too low, because I can't do a test recording right now on, you know, the edit audio compared to my voice. So the claps mean something is going wrong, and I have to play back to know what's up. For that we can return is in these. In most cases, it's what's just before it that's wrong. So I can Control-Shift-Click to make a cut, Control-Alt, right-click or select-click to make a trim and remove these bits. So now you know this. We can go a bit faster. Okay, I'm rushing through the edit, looking for the claps. There we have to. The value to the color. Hey, why don't you? 2 is okay. Ah, you can return a value to the color. Hold on, I've got conflicting inputs here. Why is it not working? Key binding 1. Ah, okay, it's set for cut multicam, and same here, but we are missing a we're missing a key binding for some reason. Well, it's really strange. Change playback speed. Okay, we're going to copy you. So sometimes one other issue with Blender, it's really linked to doing development. I've been using my regular Blender version to do this, and it creates some conflicts at times. So change the playback speed to faster, and I can... No, it doesn't work, it seems. Okay, let's go back up. Okay, so I have 1, 2, 3, normal, fast and faster. But if I... Ah, yes, I've got to play back for it to update. Back to 1 doesn't work. Faster works. Fast works, but... Okay, it's inactive. Alright, so now we have the keyboard shortcuts working. So yeah, the add-on adds this as well. It's part of the things. There's another add-on that did this, but you can switch speed on the fly with keyboard shortcuts. The color, the block of code that can return a value to the color. You can return a value to the color. You can return a value to the color. The block of code that called the function. Can return a value to the color. You can also use it to. I think this is wrong, by the way. If I recall correctly, I made a mistake while recording. We are getting to the end of the theory. The character still slides against the colliders. It's moved, jump, if it's in the middle of a bump or an attack or a stagger, dying, etc. So let's make sure that the character is in these states, and for that we can check. For that we can return from the function if the character is not in idle. Okay, so this is the first one. We are getting to the end of the series. Let me see. Okay. Same thing, this shortcut should work. Alright, that's not a problem. Okay, so snap selection to cursor. Okay. So, let me see. I made a mistake around here. As well as in the middle of an attack. And same thing for bumping, or if the character is dying or spawning, you don't want it to jump, right? So we want to check that the current state is either idle or move. It's the only 2 cases where the character should be able to jump. So if the state, the character is not turned from the function, when you use the... Okay, this is right. Where did I wrote... By now you know the drill. I invite you to open the character script. Only 2 cases where the character should be able to or move. We're going to return from the function. When you we're going to check for idle and jump. You can use the in keyword to check. Ah yes, that was this one. Okay, I messed. We're going to also use it to. We're going to add a condition to make sure. Yeah, okay. The character that was wrong. Now we've got to define the I can return a value to the color, the block of code that's called the function. You can also use it to. Okay. So the issue was I made a mistake in the first recording. I set the value to jump while it should have been move. Okay, so I've got to take this out. This is important to trying to take note of those things. If you are recording for 1 hour, when you get to the editing board, you will forget about it. But sometimes you leave big things like these in the video, and yeah, when you are recording such a long tutorial, so here I have almost 30 minutes of recording, but I'm recording, as I said, for an hour for this one, and I throw away a lot of videos every time I make a mistake or something. This is fairly complex because in this one, these tutorials are tutorials where you have already a base project and you have bits of code in different places. You have to make it linear enough, but at the same time, I want to show a an honest workflow, not make the game completely step by step. I want to show how it is when you are working on real code. So it's quite error prone when you do it like this, and you must be very careful with the tutorial structure. So now that's out of the way, normally everything's fine. At least we just have regular claps. But we're going to use steering, a technique to let the... You can find a tutorial on this on the channel, but we're going to use steering, a technique to let a technique give a more natural feel to the move. So we have some values, we first have some constants to add, we have some constants to... We have some give a more natural, works really well for AIs, for example. Okay, so this is this chunk I have to cut. You can see the speed at which I can cut here. So we're going to write them and we'll acceleration. So we're going to write them and we'll see later how to implement the steering. We'll also need some values for the acceleration, decelerate. Then we're going to have a few values that define the acceleration. Then we're going to speed and velocity, but all we'll also need some in the tutorial. Now we do need a few values, however, that are similar to our input direction, speed and velocity, but going to start it. Okay, okay. It's good. No claps? Hold on. Strange. I set it to... That's why we're going to unfold. I told you, very similar to how we animate bump. That's what we're going to do next. We're going to reuse between node with interpolate. That's why we're going to unfold the bump, and it's Alt F. It's the same keyboard shortcuts as to fold a block. It toggles the block bump. That's why we're going to unfold the bump. Just for that, I double clapped. Normally, the idea is that I clap once if it's a short issue. You know, you don't have to go back too much. Double clap if it's a longer one. 3 claps if it's a very large chunk that you have to cut. But I forget it. So often I don't do it right. And we'll change the formula a little bit. Remember that the jump duration is not the same. The jump maximum height is the code to initialize the state is ready. Okay. Everything flowing straight. As I said in the previous video, we try to keep the flow linear, so we'll place this jump function down under our move. As I said in the previous video, we try to keep the flow linear, so we add the functions are called in physics process. First update direction, then move, and finally jump. It's mostly to organize our. As I said in the previous video, we try to we'll place this jump are called in physics process. The previous video, I said in the previous video. And I also remove large gaps like these in the first pass. So you mostly work with the waveform. I bet that's how most video editors work on YouTube. So now if we have inputs, this and small noises like these I tend to remove as well. Yeah. It doesn't go below 0, it doesn't become negative, its speed values go exactly, it's not controlling the character's speed directly. This going to be equal to the target velocity. It's going to be equal to the target velocity minus the current. It's a vector that is going to slowly from the target to the target velocity minus the current velocity. So it's a vector going from the target to c minus the current velocity. So it's a vector going. Okay, made an error with what I said here. I said the vector was going one way while it's going the other way. Normalize the vector, so it becomes. And we're going to multiply it by a value of our choice. That's going to, it's a vector that goes from the current air velocity towards. And we're going to multiply it by okay, that's good. That's going to. Now we've calculated how the character. Well, we haven't defined it yet, so let's add this variable at the top of the script. Yeah, it's a fairly long tutorial, by the way. We do exactly the same. We do exactly the same as in the enemy bump height. In this one, we do exactly what's. In this one, we do exactly. We have some scale animation. It's inverted. It works the same way as the height animation. I'll get you read into it. It works the exact same way. It's the same formula, except it works the exact same way. It's the same formula after scaling down as the character is going up and scaling back up as the character falls. It works the exact same way. It's the same formula, except it's inverted. It works the same way as the height animation because remember we don't want to use the maximum jump height. Instead, we have defined a maximum jump height. The function gets called back. So if the function gets called back, so if we're getting to the end, if we're getting to the end of the change the state back to idle. And with this, we are done and ready to test the game. So the character walks, you can go into gaps. I've jump as well. With this, we are getting to the end of the series. If we're getting to the end of the jump animation, we are going to change. Shift X to delete and remove gaps as well. Ripple delete called it. That's part of the add-on. We are getting to the end of the series. Congratulations for getting here. Did I save right? Did I save right? if the character is walking, he won't go past the maximum walk speed, and if he's running, he will go up to the maximum run speed. Also note that when you are jumping, you don't go over background elements, even if they seem much more complicated. Okay, first pass done. So you can see in one pass we removed 5 minutes out of 29, roughly. Very important to remove those big chunks, and this is just a starting point in my editing workflow, at least. For most editors, with tutorials, that's where it ends, if they do this at all. I mean, the ones with the larger channels, they do tend to do this. Some people just leave all the mistakes. They do screencast, they record, and upload straight. All right, so the bulk of the filtering is also done while you are recording. Again, when you have messed up completely, you stop the recording, you delete the file. There's no point in keeping all that. But then if the recording is good overall and you're going to make minor mistakes along the way, say something that's wrong or something like this, that's why you have to listen back through everything, and the claps and cuts are much more convenient. So the second pass, really the bulk of the job is editing, cutting, and trimming. That's why the add-on really focused on these tools. You have lots of options to do this with the keyboard and all. Well, by default in Blender it's a bit slow, but the bulk of the job is doing small edits like these. So you're going to see in the second pass, I go back slowly through the entire tutorial, and we are going to shorten it to make the stream a little more interesting. So let's see up to where we go. Okay, we'll stop. Remember that the jump direction code to initialize the state is ready. Now we have to write our jump function and animate jump height. But first, let's go down to the code to initialize this. Okay, we're going to stop here at 11 minutes. And I'll move this to another video. So this way, the second pass will be a bit shorter on the stream, because otherwise it can take a long time. Okay, come here, paste it. You have cut and paste also in the add-on, because for some reason, by default, you can copy in Blender. Here you have the two icons. It's really, look at this. I really don't understand why things are this way. There must be a reason, but it's really weird. So if you copy by default, and most operators work this way, I go somewhere and I paste. I'm going to place the time cursor. Look at what happens. It's pasted at the same offset we copied the strips. So unless you place your time cursor at the start of the selection, it's not going to do this. And as well, there is no cut. You can only copy and paste. So that's something I've changed, because, I mean, makes sense to just be able, you're going to reuse footage at some point, although you can duplicate it if you want to use it in another scene. You may want to copy it, move the cursor, and paste it at point. Paste it where your cursor is. And it works with the full selection as well. If I do this, I've copied this block, it's duplicated it exactly the same way. Same thing if I do this, a more complex block, I can copy and paste it. It's a lot more convenient. Same thing, you don't have confirmations with the add-on, because by default, every time you want to delete something in Blender, it asks you, do you want to delete? You save, it asks you, do you want to save? You, yeah, it's a bit inconvenient. So, second pass, this time I'm going to scan the audio first and foremost. I'm going to try to improve the flow of my voice. The idea is, you saw the start recording, it was 30 minutes. The second pass, the first pass removed 5 minutes. The second pass may remove, with a lot more work, 3 or 4 extra minutes. So in the end, you have 1/3 of the raw recording that's going out. And the goal for this is really to make the flow of the tutorial good enough so it keeps you engaged, entertained, let's say, something like this. So let's work on this. In general, the first part, the introduction, is okay, especially with the video. I don't do too many cuts.
To the end of the series with a character that can run, walk, fall into gaps. We don't get to code this. It's just for the jump mechanic. Okay, we're going to code this jump. Okay, we're going to code this jump. That's steering base, so it's another way. This jump, that's steering base, so it's another way to move the character that you can use. We're going to code this jump. That's steering base, so it's another way to move the character that you can use on the ground or for AI as well. To move the character that you can use on the ground. To move the character that you can use on the ground or for AI as well. It's very interesting for that. We're going to make the simple jump where the character still slides against the colliders, but it's mostly to avoid the gap. Still slides against the character. Still slides against the colliders, but it's mostly to avoid the gap. A bit like in Zelda, you can't really jump any way you'd like, but you can use it to avoid gaps, maybe not collide with enemies, etc. Let's get started. We need a condition check to make sure that the character is either in the idle or the move state. We don't want the character to jump if it's in the middle of a bump. Or let's get started. We need a condition check to make sure that the character is either. Let's get started. We need a condition check to make sure that the character is either in the idle or the move state. We don't want the character to jump if it's in the middle of a bump.
Okay, some features, it's hard to edit, listen to the recording and explain things at the same time. A few things I've done here. So these are part of Blender. You can extend a strip, and when it's red like this, it's overlapping something else. You can't place it. Blender really treats strips as blocks. They are not going to erase one another. You can, however, ripple the edit by keeping the Alt key down when you click. You can see the Alt in the bottom right of the script. It works in a bit of a strange way, so if you try to ripple like this, it's going to pull all the audio if it doesn't start at the same time as the strip. The thing is, when you are editing, you're going to cut the audio differently from the video. You don't want to keep it the exact same way. If you want to remove some small bits of audio that don't work for you. So one thing you can do is cut at the end, and you're only going to extend the second strip, in which case you can push everything that's to the right of it a bit more to the right. So you add a bit of space to make the transition a bit smoother between the first and the second part. Next, there's Ctrl-Alt-C to add a crossfade. It's going to automatically find the strip to crossfade for you. By default, it's part of the things that are a bit slow in Blender. Last one, when you select a crossfade, if you want to edit it, you'll have to select both handles from the input strips. With the add-on, when you added the crossfade, it's automatically selected. So you can press Alt-C to edit the crossfade. It's going to select the handles for you. So do we start here? I think...
By now you know the drill. I invite you to open the character script, the character scene as well, and I'm going to open the player script, in which we have a small thing to do.
Yeah, okay, so it starts here. I think I named them wrong. Yeah, don't work when you're tired. You make mistakes.
In return from the function, if the character is not in idle or in...
So you can use this Alt key, the ripple edit. You grab the strips, and when you want to insert them in the middle to spread out two strips, you keep the Alt key down, spread out two blocks, and you click here, and it's going to push everything to the right. Another thing, by default, to add gaps, I think it's the plus key, so it's Shift plus, like that. But with the add-on, you just press equal. It's a bit more convenient. One other thing I can show you is Control-click. When you click on something, it's going to cut. When you click over strips, but not on the strips directly, it's going to cut everything under the time cursor. And if you click on a gap, it's going to remove this gap. So the idea is all the operations that are extremely common when you are editing, you can apply them with the mouse, with the stylus. It's much faster. You don't have to go back to the keyboard.
By now you know the drill. I need you to open the character script, the character scene as well, and by now you need to open the character script, the character scene as well, and we're going to open the player script, in which we have a small thing to do. So the player, we need to give the ability to jump. The player, we need to give the ability to jump. Right now, the player, we need to give the ability to jump. We need to give the ability to jump. Right now, we need to give the ability to jump script, in which we have a small thing to do. We need to give the ability to jump. Right now, the player script, in which we have a small thing to do. Now, you don't have a script. We need to give the ability to jump. Right now, you don't have any input as listening script. We need to give the ability player script. We need to give it the ability to jump. I'm going to open the player script. We need to give it the ability to jump. Right now, you don't have any input that's listening for the jump. And for that, we're going to fold the physics. And for that, we're going to fold the physics process function. And above it, we want to add the input function. And above it, we want to add the input function. So it's a built-in function that takes an event. Every time the user presses a key, it's going to call back. It's a built-in function that takes function. It's a built-in function. Input function. It's a built-in function that takes an event. Add the input function. It's a built-in function that takes an event. Every time the user presses a key.
If you have questions, don't hesitate, because as I said, then the process is mostly linear. You repeat the same steps over and over.
The event works a bit like the input class we use in the physics process function. Now it's a bit different because it's only triggering function when a key. It's a built-in function that takes an event. Every time the user presses a key, it's going to call back the input function along with the corresponding event. The event works a bit like the input class we use in the physics process function. Now it's a bit different because it's only triggering function when a key is being pressed or released or being pressed.
Another tool, by the way, concatenate. You can select something, press C, it's going to pull the next strip back, it's going to find it for you. Or if you have a selection, it's going to concatenate the block.
Key is being pressed or released, or it can also happen when the key is being held. So let's check if the input event that we get corresponds to the jump action being pressed. We define the jump action. So let's check if the input event that we get corresponds to the jump action corresponds to the jump action being pressed. We define the jump being pressed. We define the jump action at the beginning of the series. If so, we'll change corresponds to the. We define the jump action at the beginning of the series. If so, we'll change the player state to jump. If so, we'll change the player state. If so, we'll change series. If so, we'll change the player state to jump. I define jump. I define the jump state for us as well, so we can get started faster. I define the jump state for us as well, so we can get started faster. Now we have one more thing to add. I define the jump state for us as well, so we can get started faster. In this example. Now we have one more thing to add. We don't only have to jump. I define the jump.
So one thing I'm listening for, that's quite important, is when you're talking and recording, sometimes you tend to rush some bits a little bit. And to slice sentences as you try to write the code and think about what you are supposed to explain or how to explain the code. You tend to chop sentences differently than you should. That was the case here where I have...
In this example, now we have one more thing to add. We don't only have to always...
like things like these, you say, we have one more thing to add, blah, 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 blah. Better cut this out. It's not very important. And the next time I find something like this, I'll mention it.
We don't want the characters to always jump. If you're attacking, for example, you don't want to jump right in the middle of an attack. And same thing if you're bumping or if the character is dying or spawning, you don't want it to jump, right? So we want to check that's right. So we want to check that the current state is either idle or move. It's the only two cases where the character should
there.
Or move. It's the only two.
I'm chaining two sentences too fast. We want to check that the current state is either idle or move. You need a pause and then go on to the next sentence. And right there, it's checking that the current state is either idle or move. It's the next sentence is coming too fast. So that's why you've got to go to the editing board and clean that up. I've seen a lot of people who make tutorials who have the same problem. For me, it's even a bit harder because I'm not a native English speaker, so it's even if I practice a lot, it's still not fully natural to speak English, the pronunciation and all. When I was recording, there's this sentence. It was about the block of code that calls. The block of code that calls. I've had to do it 3 or 4 times to get it right. And because the sounds are pretty close, and in French you don't have these different sounds. I mean, you don't get these very close but slightly different sounds you must get right in English in a sentence. So you really have to train your muscles to get these out.
We don't want the character to always jump. If you're attacking, for example, you don't want to jump right in the middle of it. And same thing if you're bumping, or if the character is same thing if you're bumping, or if the character is dying or spawning, you don't want it to jump. So we want to check that the current state is either idle or move. It's the only two cases where the character should be able to jump. So if the character should...
Same thing, because well, you tend to not change... Sorry. Because you tend to not chain the sentences naturally, or you tend to go a bit too fast in some cases, like this. This is the case here.
The only two cases where the character should be able to...
You have a little gap where you have to breathe because you chain two sentences right before it. So you didn't breathe between the two. You didn't make the natural pause. So then you are breathing in the middle of a sentence. And this is another thing that you have to edit. James asking if I'm French. Yes, I am.
The only two cases where the character should be able to jump. So if these states...
So then it's the other way around. I have to make these two strips closer to one another.
It's the only two cases where the character should be able to jump. So if these states, the character is not, we can write not in because we're going to check all two states, idle or move. We're going to return from the function. We use the return keyword. We need a condition check to make sure that the character is either always jump. If you're attacking, for example, don't want to jump right in the middle of an attack. And same thing if you're bumping, or if the character check that the current state is either idle or move. It's the only two cases where the character should be able to jump.
Okay, so this part was wrong.
The character is not or move. We condition check to make sure that the character is either in the idle or...
See, for example, even in the final version, I do have some recording that's wrong, and I redid the recording for this part. So, as I said, the rest of this video, it's quite long already. You can see it's all right, and there's only the end that was wrong, so I just cut it when editing the tutorial. And very important if some of you want to make tutorials, because that's something I see on the internet a lot. It's in the video, someone says something wrong and they either leave it, even knowing it's wrong, so they don't have to start the recording over, or they correct it in the video. If you have the time, it's best to edit it out, because you add 1 minute saying something wrong. And the thing you have to know is people don't watch the tutorials to the end, or they skip parts. A lot of people do that. You just have to look to the YouTube statistics. So they jump in, watch 2 minutes, try to find the one thing that is bugging them or something like that. And so they may listen to the thing you say that's completely wrong and then quit the video. It's very common. So yeah, better edit it out, because when you are making tutorials like this, you can hurt people more than you help them. I've seen a lot of artists, for example, who tried to become professionals, didn't necessarily go to art school. There are some people who learn online and manage it. I learned lots of things online and on my own. But there are lots of people as well who will go to one resource. I've seen lots of artists who stick to DeviantArt, for example, and they get very bad tutorials. They get into very bad habits as well, and they don't go to other sources. They get lots of positive feedback from DeviantArtists, and yeah, they tend to make really crappy art. And I guess you see the same thing everywhere. I've seen some people who want to become developers, and they don't really, they're not really seeking, they're not really getting out of their comfort zone, even when it comes to learning. So they tend to write bad code, and then it's harder to get hired. Or they don't get used to working with a team or on an open source project, for example, which hurts you really bad when you are trying to get a job. James is French. Yeah, I think there are quite a few French people who follow the channel. And hi. What else can I say? I'm going to Japan, and I'm probably not going to live in France in the future, at least for the next few years.
Is not. We can write not in because we're going to check for two states, idle or move. We're going to return from the function.
Okay, so this bit I have to remove. Shift X again.
We need a condition check to make sure that the character is either in the idle or the move state. We don't want the character to jump if it's in the middle of a bump or an attack or a stagger dying. So we want to check that the current state is either idle or move. It's the only two cases where the character should be able to jump. We need a condition check to make sure that the character is either in the idle or don't want the character to jump if it's in the middle of a bump or an attack or a stagger dying, etc. So let's make sure that the character.
Yeah, okay, I'm going to remove the part
You
before.
don't want the character to always jump. If you're attacking, for example, you don't want to jump right in the middle of an attack. And same thing for bumping, or if you're attacking, for example, you don't want to jump.
The reason I'm keeping the second version is it's a bit shorter with the same information.
We want the character to always. We need a condition check to make sure that the character is either in the idle or the move state. We don't want the character to jump if it's in the middle of a bump or an attack or a stagger dying, etc. So let's make sure that the character is in these states, and for that we can check, for that we can reach.
Yeah, same problem here. Bad rhythm.
It's in these states, and for that we can check, for that we can return, for that we can check, for that we can return, for that we can return from the function. So let's make sure that the character is in these states, and for that in these states, for that these states, in these states.
Yeah, Blender has basic audio editing abilities, by the way, but it's honestly, I don't think that's a bad thing compared to. So the thing is, you can't really add audio effects. You don't have real audio channels or an audio mixer. However, with cutting tools like these, it's actually faster to cut audio in there, although it's a bit less precise than doing it in a digital audio workstation. So you can edit your audio, you cut it, and when your footage is done, you can pass the audio through an external program. Okay, it's maybe not ideal. Maybe you'd like to do it all in there, but I do like the way it works. Actually, you can only change the volume of audio strips, the pitch, the pan as well. So very basic features. Ted is asking, why are you moving to Japan? To study the language. I'm very interested in the culture. I've been studying Japanese, so I speak a little bit of it. And I went there once, and I absolutely love the country. Let me show you. Okay, anyway, it's been an hour. Time for a tiny break. I took some really lovely pictures there. Should be Japan. And yeah, let me show you one or two. These things, that was with a friend, Ayaka. So this is in Shirakawa-go. Very beautiful town. How can I'm showing you the pictures because it's harder to explain without them. It's a completely different world. There's this fact you completely get out of your comfort zone. Things don't work the same way at all. Yeah, this picture is particularly a lucky one. I'll definitely make when I'm in Japan. I absolutely have to make at least one vlog or something shooting outside to show you some things. I'll try to find some game developers around as well. But one thing is it's extremely peaceful. They tend to be stressed because of work and all that stuff, and I would never want to work for a Japanese company, I think. But at the same time, because they work so much, everything around it is organized to be convenient and easy. People are very mindful of the street to keep everything clean, so they are extremely careful with that. They don't litter, they handle all their trash and all that stuff. Yeah, it's a very different mindset from France and other European countries around here. I want to try, at least. I'm going there for 1 year just to try and see how life is. And if it's good, I'll stay. If it's not that great in the end, because you've got to, it's different to visit some place and live there. If it's disappointing, I'll come back. But even the French people I know, but all the expats I know in Japan told me, if you're coming, you're never going back. And so far, that's a bit. Yeah, Canada could be a cool. Canada could be a cool country. Okay, let's keep going with the edit.
Return from the function if the character is not in idle or in move, not in idle or in move. So you can move. So you can start the character is not in idle or in move. So you can in move.
And Keith is saying he doesn't like unedited tutorials. So I must say, lots of people don't mind unedited tutorials, and some people don't see the difference between, or don't see too much of a difference between edited or unedited tutorial, or at least people will put likes even on unedited tutorials because the person is sharing some piece of information and all. I prefer to do it live like this, where you, even if it's a bit chaotic and all that stuff, so you can ask questions, we can interact, and I think it's the thing is, all the time you spend, because it can take hours to edit one tutorial, is to make sure that you get the point across more efficiently. So it's really for the learners, but also if you remove just a few minutes multiplied by the number of persons who are going to watch it, it's going to like save a lot of time overall, you see. And Keith is saying I usually double speed tutorials, so yeah, that's the thing. I do the same as well. I tend to increase the speed 1.5, 2 times of videos when I'm looking for info about, I don't know, CSS or all that stuff. And one of the points is that people don't necessarily have to do this as well, although some people definitely will.
So you can start the if statement with not, to negate it. We're going to
Another difficulty with tutorials compared to the classroom is that you have lots of people with very different skill levels and knowledge who are coming to it. Even if you tell people with the tutorials, I always say it's not for beginners, and go to this or that channel for beginner-friendly tutorials. And people still come and still buy the course and all. Some to support you, some because they want to learn things that are more advanced and complicated. But yeah, it's a tough balancing act, and editing helps you, again, get the point across for a wider audience as well. Where I'm saying that because it's not only the audio, but after that, I don't see enough people adding like this illustrations. Whoa, it's at an offset like that, maybe more. So showing a bit how the controls work, you know, so small pictures showing how the axes work. I'll show you this at the end, where we're going to go to Affinity Designer to design them. Okay, I use vector for all this, by the way. I tend to use vector for all image illustrations.
Not to negate it. We're going to add the variable to check against the state, and write the in keyword to test it against a list. We're going to add the variable to check against the state, and write the in keyword to test it variable to check against the state, and write the in keyword to test it against a list of values. If it's not, and write the in keyword to test it against a list of values. Add the variable to check against the state.
I have one or two shortcuts that don't work here. It's really weird.
State, and not to negate it. Add the variable to check against state, and write the in keyword to test it against a list of values. If it's not in idle and move, and write the in keyword to test it against a list of values. If it's not in idle and move, we're going to return from the function. If it's not in idle and move, we're going to return from the function. From the function. And use the return keyword. Use the return to return from the function. Use the return keyword, you can send the value back to the color. That's it. Use the return function. use the return keyword, you can send a value back to the color, that is the block of code that is calling the function. You can also use it, as noted here, you don't return anything, but you exit the function when you add this. So it's very handy to quit the function if a condition. This we can jump onto character script.
So you can see I'm going through the entire tutorial again. I've tried to, I've tried multiple ways to produce the tutorials in the past because of my accent and the fact that it was hard to pronounce English. I had to write a script. So if you go to the first videos on the channel, the flow is a lot less natural, but I didn't have to cut the audio as much because I would write the entire script for the video. It has its quirks because your voice is not natural. For example, you don't make good progress with the way you speak. But it was necessary at the time. But in the end, the process that works best is to really prepare the tutorial well, to prepare all the code. All the code is tested, prepared normally when I start. I go through the code once as well. Even if you do that, there will be small mistakes. Like I had this recording where on the third take of something, the first two takes were wrong. So writing this, instead of idle and move, I wrote idle and jump, and I only noticed it at the very end of the tutorial. It's not a big issue because the tutorial is structured so we are jumping the screen down so that when if we are getting to the end and something at the start was wrong, I can go back, I can re-record and write the things right and insert it on the editing board in Blender. But, oh, we have some company here. Now, the important thing is you should always prepare the tutorial. Like, I can show you this because I think it's interesting. So let's get away from Japan for a moment and how everything is. So I have a list of Godot projects, and in each folder you can go inside. You have the end and the start version. So these are both prepared and tested way before I record the video. Sometimes I may do 3 or 4 in a row before I record anything, just to make sure the flow of the code, the way it evolves from one project to the next, is good. But not only that, before I do these examples, I start with a final project you can see here, and I will show you in Godot. Again, that's something that's interesting. Let's see, I have to go to the desktop, I think, to find Godot for you. So I start with the end project, and this one has the full code, the entire example. So we can test it out. Let's grab the game controller. So you have the full thing. The character jumps, it falls into gaps, it can bump against the environment. And if I go here, I also forgot to show the NPCs back. Normally, if I go back to the example, now we have NPCs walking. So one of the points of this tutorial is to show things I've learned thanks to Lars about object orientation in code, and making, actually you have one base character script and the AI and the character are both using it. But the difference is this character, the green one, is player controlled, while the AI is computer controlled. So this way you have only one base movement code for everyone. It works in this type of game. It doesn't work every time, but all right, that's one thing. So you can see the project works now. When I'm making the various examples, I may branch the code a little bit, and I know that some fellow content creators don't necessarily do it because it takes a lot of time when you do it that way. You break the code down, but if you make a change in the tutorials that's necessary, you know, if you want to make a change, you have to replicate it in all the tutorials in the base project as well. And I've had to do this a few times, and it's quite error prone as well. But yeah, you prepare this, and when I record the tutorial, before I record, how can I say, as I'm going back through the code and looking at the order in which I'm doing things, I also speak out loud saying, okay, so now we have to do this and that, and you know, I'm repeating for the tutorial, just trying to print some important steps mentally.
We're going to build our jump in a way that's similar to how we manage the bump, at least for the jump of the height of the character. We're going to use next to this. We are going to let the player control the character while it's in the air, using something similar to the character while it's in the using something similar to our move function, but we're going to use steering. You can find a tutorial on this on the channel as well. It's a technique to give a more natural feel, to movements.
I don't know if Enrique is still there, but we made the steering tutorial together, by the way. Pig dev. One important thing as well is to not forget to add some extra video clips. I'll add a marker with M, Control M to name it, and I name them as identifiers. So I haven't had time to add this to the core add-on yet, but you can snap with Python the videos and all that have the same name as the markers to the markers. So when you import, automatically it's going to spread to the markers, because I make the illustration specifically for one point in time. So yeah, it's that easy. This is going to be steering tutorial, and at least with this one, I'll either go back to the steering video, get a sample, or re-record something from the Godot project. Green Beans says we have the same theme. Yeah, it's a pretty cool one. Which one is it already? It's Graph? I don't remember.
It's a technique to give a more natural feel to the movement, taking away some of the control from the player. Works really well for AIs, for example. We have
so these are moments I want to illustrate, that where I feel that adding some picture, some motion on top of this could enhance the viewer's experience.
really well for AIs. We have some constants to add right below the bump part. We're going to add a few values for the jump. First, I told you it's going to be similar to our bump, so we want to set the duration and the height, the maximum height of the jump. Let's add two constants for that. Jump duration. Let's add two constants for that. Jump duration is going to be 0.8 maybe seconds, and a maximum jump height. This one's going to be something like 60, 70, 80. Okay, let's try this. We'll also need some value. Okay, let's try this. We'll also need some values for the air. We'll also need some values for the air. Acceleration, deceleration of the character. The steering bit will write them in line. The steering bit will write them in line with acceleration, deceleration of the character. The steering bit will write them in line with the jump. In line with the jump function, and we will move them up in line with the jump function, and we'll move them up the script at the end of the tutorial. Now we do need a few values. We'll write them in line with the jump function. We'll move them up the script at the end of the tutorial.
So yeah, very important to edit as well with the footage sped up. Sadly, that's another thing Blender cannot do. It cannot play back the audio, at least in a smoother way than frame by frame. So it tends to chop it up. I should try editing. I think if you edit at 60 frames per second, it may be a bit better. But the way it works right now, it's going to skip frames to accelerate the footage, and because it skips a frame, it doesn't play the audio on that frame. So it's more of a hack, the increased playback speed on the add-on. It works at two-thirds faster, so that's already pretty good because you don't go very much higher in a real video editor. If you try to double the speed, it tends to go a bit too fast to follow the audio and understand everything that's going on. But that would be a very important addition if they wanted to improve the editing experience, because that's something you cannot improve with Python.
And we do need a few values, however, that are similar to our input direction, speed, and velocity, but all dedicated to the jump. I'll place them near the high value, and there will be near the high value, and there will be some airspeed and some airspeed and maximum airspeed that we'll want to have, similar to speed and max speed. Similar to speed and max speed will be some airspeed and maximum airspeed that we'll want to have, similar to speed and max speed. It's going to start at 0. We'll also have an airspeed that's going to start at 0. It's all similar to how the move on the ground works, but we are duplicating its value to handle only the air case separately. We don't want to mess up and reuse variables that we may alter in a way we don't want. That we may alter in a way. We don't want to mess up and reuse variables
not bad
that
here.
we may alter in a way we don't want. We're going to have some air velocities, similar again to what we have down there. Have some air velocities, similar again to what we have down there would be velocity. Similar again to what we have down there would be velocity. It's going to be a vector 2. And some air steering. So air steering is going to be similar.
What is Blender 3D is normal Blender 2D. Try to search for Blender on Google and you will see why I call it Blender 3D. It's because if you search for Blender, depending on the country, you get pictures and websites about blenders, you know, to blend fruits and vegetables together. So if someone doesn't know about it and is going to search for Blender, he may not find Blender straight away.
Vector is going to describe a velocity that's pulling our character towards a desired velocity. That's pulling our character towards a desired velocity. But we'll need the two to have some velocity that's controlled by the player. It's going to be a vector 2. And some air steering. So air steering. So air steering is going to be similar to the velocity vector. It's going to describe. So air steering is going to be similar to the velocity vector. It's going to describe the velocity vector. It's going to describe. It's going to describe. It's going to describe. It's going to describe a. It's going to describe a velocity vector. It's going to describe a velocity that's pulling our character towards a desired vector. It's going to describe.
One shortcut that's not working right now, I should really add it back, but Alt-G in the add-on will select a cut for you. It's a recent addition. I think I added it last month. Very important because you can see it's something very common that you have audio that's chaining too fast. You make a cut there and you just miss it by 1 frame. So what you want to do is Alt-G, it selects the cut and you can shift it. So this way you have the right audio blocks. Ivan is asking if I plan to make a 3D Go to 3 tutorial. So yes, there is not a tutorial but a series coming eventually. I don't know when, but that is for the official documentation. So introduction to the asset workflow in the new 3D engine. For this one, I'm waiting for the engine to be stable because the most unstable part is everything that has to do with 3D. That's why I'm working on 2D tutorials right now. So as I've explained in the past, for the longest time I was unable to work on 2D tutorials because a lot of the syntax has changed up until the end of November. Some things came in very late, like the auto tile, for example. But I just wasn't sure that they wouldn't change a base keyword, for example, pretty late in alpha. So I had to wait for beta. And at the start of beta, I had some paperwork to do. It's the end of the year for companies, so you have all the paperwork, the accounting to wrap up. Yeah, so that's why I got started a bit more recently. And now I'm focusing on the course, making content for the channel as well. Got a website update to do as well for GDQuest. And yeah, it's coming, but I can't give you a definitive date.
Velocity. Okay, we need the 2 to have some velocity that's velocity. Okay, we need the 2 to have some velocity that's controlled by the player and the steering. Okay, we need the 2 to have some velocity that's controlled by the player and the steering is going to slowly pull the character's inertia towards what the player wants or inputs. With this, we are ready to go. Remember, I told you, and the steering is going to slowly pull the character's inertia towards what the player wants or inputs. With this, we are ready to go. Remember, I told you, I defined the jump states for us.
I think I'll reuse some examples from the steering tutorial here.
Pulling our character towards a desired velocity. We need to describe a velocity that's pulling our character towards a desired velocity. We need to have some velocity that's controlled by the player, and the steering is going to slowly pull the character's inertia towards what the player wants or inputs. With this, we are ready to go. Remember, I told you, I defined. With this, we are ready to go. Remember, I told you, I defined.
Because I have an example with cars, I think, where you have these vectors drawn, and if I slow down the game very much and scale it up, I think you can see the steering vector scaling down, so it should work. Should be a good example.
With this, we are ready to go. Remember, I told you, I defined the jump states for us. Remember, I told you, I defined the jump states for us. Okay, so let's define this. We are ready to go. Remember, I told you, I defined the jump state for us. Okay, so let's define how we enter the jump state. What happens when
What time is it?
Let's go down to the
Oh, 5:30. Very bad, very bad. Okay, so right now I'm going to stop there for this pass and move on to the next part, just to show you the end of the workflow. And I would like to show you the export as well. No, control there. Okay, push everything. There's one thing I want to show you. It's part of the tutorials you'll find in the description, but it's quite important. Blender has one thing that works very well out of the box. It's snapping. So you can snap the time cursor by pressing the Control key. So when you do this, it's going to snap to all the cuts. It doesn't snap to markers, only to cuts. And you can use this with any operator, because actually most of the tools work with the time cursor in some way. So when you are using the grab, you can press the Control key to snap the grab to some cuts, including to the next cut as well on the same channel. It's very convenient to... What can you do? Yeah, so instead of trying to get precisely to a cut, I think there was a page up, page down. Doesn't need to work here, okay. There's a feature, built-in feature to jump to the cuts. But when you are editing the audio like this, for example, say you want this second strip to stop on this cut, all right? If you use the jump to cut feature, you're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4 times on the key, while if you grab the handle and press Control, you can just mouse over the cut and it's going to snap to it. So very important. You can also use this to snap a strip to some place in the editor. You drag the cursor, you press Control to have it stop on a cut, press Shift S to snap the selection to the cut. And in the key maps, you also have Alt S. That doesn't work right now, but you have a tool called Snap Selection to Cursor, as I showed you. So if you have a more complex selection like this, and you want to snap it, but if you press Shift S, it's going to snap the first frame of each strip to your cursor. So if you have something a bit more complex, like strips in time that are in the same channel, and you do Shift S, they actually snap and jump to new channels. They all align, at least their starting point does. So you have this snap selection to cursor, you press enter to do this. I think they don't have it by default in Blender, because one way to do this is Control G, metastrip, and snap it. The problem with metastrip is it resets the blending mode of your composition, so it's going to override by default everything that's below it, which is not the most convenient. All right. So with this, I have a chunk of tutorial, and we can go to the next step, which is illustrations. So for this, I'm gonna go back to some files I had. So I have two things. First, above the chapter in which I have all the video tutorials, you can see here all the exported videos. So you have 9 for now, and so 2 more coming with the jump. If I go up one step, I tend to put all the folders, all the edits for one project in the same place. And I have an image folder that is shared by all the other folders. And I have one Affinity Designer file. So this one is mostly for chapter 1, but just in case I may want to reuse some assets and I forget about them, I will place them back here. So, okay, it doesn't really appreciate the scaling on the tablet. Let's see if I can open you on the tablet directly, if it fixes it. Affinity Designer works well overall, but yeah, okay. It has this thing where if you try to switch screen with shortcuts, it tends to mess up the UI. So this is the illustrations for the past few tutorials. I tend to group them all in one file, and I use this program because of its export tool. So if I go to the export persona, there are no slices for some of these, but I may not have saved after adding them. The good thing is you can see everything that's going to get exported. It can batch export and batch re-export everything. This works very, very well. So now we want to have some steering examples. So let me see, because in the repository I had some assets normally. Did I leave it there? No, I think I did not. On top of that, I don't have Photoshop anymore. I don't know if I'll be able to open them in Designer. Crowdfunding, maybe. Yeah, I had some assets in there. And where was the steering assets? It was an Affinity Designer file. Perfect. So I think... No, that's not the steering ones. Okay, maybe I didn't have... I thought I had some. I don't have Office as well anymore. Yeah, it's in vectors and... okay, I think I made it with PowerPoint. Yeah, because these were presentations. Okay, that's fine. We're going to work without these. So reuse some of these sprites here. Okay, so I'll create a new artboard to kind of group the new elements. The good thing is I can put some background color in the artboard and it won't get exported. So it's quite convenient as well to test for the image's contrast. All right. So by the way, when I edit like this, I don't really take note of the elements I would like to design. I tend to not think about these at all. So steering works this way. We're going to delete. I want to keep the last 2 points. Steering works this way. We have some direction the character is trying to go towards. So this is the input direction multiplied by the maximum speed, for example, for our character. We'll have a direction the character is already moving towards. I'll keep you straight for now. I'm going to shorten you. This is going to be the character's inertia here. Maybe he's trying to go there. Okay, we'll change the color later. And finally, we have one vector that's going from this to, is it the right orientation? It's going to be a bit hard here. Hey, let me move everything down there. Okay, we're going to try to have something like that and space out the vectors so they don't overlap. Okay, so this is the principle in steering, although this arrow may be actually a lot smaller. So it works a bit like this. You have the character that's going in some direction, so the inertia, we're going to make it blue. There we go. The steering vector is going to be yellow. It's going to be the force that pulls the character into some direction, like this. And the character's desired velocity is going to be pink red because it's desired. Yeah, sorry, I didn't have a better idea. So the character is going in this direction with this velocity, so a certain speed in a given direction. You then have the input that's trying to pull it somewhere else, and the steering is going to point towards that. And finally, I'm going to add some labels to this, copy the text. So yeah, Blender doesn't handle text well, but in any case, video editing programs in general don't do a great job at handling text. So if you have a good 2D editor with good export tools, Inkscape can work for this. Photoshop can work. Krita doesn't really work too well right now. Gotta wait for Krita 4. GIMP should work. I don't use it too much. But yeah, you use this for text in general. I highly recommend it. Anyway, Blender, there's some options to kind of create text within Blender, but the tools are just not great right now. Even there's a text strip, but you can't change the font, so it's not convenient. And the 3D text, by default, it's going to be a lot of slow manual work. It's going to render slowly as well. So desired, and we have inertia. Yeah, I'm not going to add velocity to all these. I think you have the input related vector, the steering one, and the inertia. Maybe I can color the text. Does it work? Yeah, if I add some border, I think it's not too bad. So let's go there, add a border to all these, just to have the color relate to the corresponding vector. Okay, so this works. And steering, you're going to have an orange border. Borders tend to make the text a bit harder to read, but let's try this. Make it outer as well, because right now it's across the text. Is it better? Yeah, okay, it's better in the middle, maybe. All right. So let's say we have an illustration done. I don't want to waste your time too much with that. So they are grouped already. I'm going to group the assets together to export them a bit more efficiently. Let's call it, I'm going to reuse the name from Blender. It's steering tutorial, AI, steering vector here. The program I'm using now is called Affinity Designer. It's a vector and pixel drawing program on Windows and Mac. So it's a paid program. It's not very expensive though, about 50 euros, $50, and one-time payment as well. Now Inkscape, I don't use it. I didn't invest much time in Inkscape. It's powerful, but I need a good graphic design program with very good export capabilities as well. That's quite important for me. All right. It looks like Adobe Illustrator. Yeah, kinda. It feels a little bit. It's really different from Adobe programs. I like their UX. But yeah, it's a graphic design program overall. You can use it to make interfaces as well. But all right, now we have this illustration. I've exported it and saved it in my image folder. Now when I go back to Blender, I'm going to place the cursor around here and press Ctrl-Shift-I to automatically detect, find, and import the new picture. From this, press the T key to add, to shrink down the image to its original ratio. It's part of the add-on as well, and pull it to the side with the VSE Quick Transform add-on, very important. It's in the add-ons repository as well, and eventually I'm hoping to find some other people who are interested in the Blender video editor and would contribute, like do a bit of code to, for example, we'd need some people to be 2, 3, 4 people to take over the VSE Quick Transform. That would be cool if it could be built in Blender, because it's very important being able to move, rotate, scale elements right in the sequencer view. We have to use an add-on for that right now, but yeah, the add-on is unmaintained, and it could use some improvements. I think there was something to change the opacity, and I think it crashes now, or it doesn't work anymore. So one last thing with the add-on, you can use F to add fades automatically.
Pulling our character towards a desired velocity. Okay, we need the two to...
and I'm going to pull the strip a bit before.
Velocity that's pulling our character towards a desired velocity. Okay, we need the two to have some velocity that's controlled by the player, and the steering is going to slowly pull the character's inertia towards vector. That's going to describe steering is going to slowly, similar to the describe a velocity that's pulling our character towards a desired velocity. Okay, we need the two to have some velocity that's controlled by.
So yeah, you got the entire workflow of the course of the stream. Hey Gerardo Gonzalez, welcome. Sorry, I'm a bit tired now. I've got some more editing to do, but the point was to show you, this is the last step in the tutorial creation, to add the illustrations and video overlays, things like these. And yeah, place them on the markers. So now I've got, I see it's pretty late and I've got some more editing to do by tomorrow morning. So it's Christmas, I have to go see my family in 2 or 3 hours. So I'm going to cut the stream there and get back to editing at full speed. Thank you very much for joining. This was a test stream. Lavi is asking, should I use Affinity Designer or Inkscape? I don't know. Try out the two. Start with Inkscape, considering it's free, and if it works for you, no reason to use Affinity Designer. So yeah, I recommend that you try out Blender for video editing. That said, you have some tutorials in the video description, the add-ons link as well. Thank you very much for joining, and see you next time. Yeah, I'll try to do another stream, but set up everything, a very short video for one, and prepare everything, try out all the shortcuts before that. Not during Christmas, it'll be a better idea, and prepare all the pictures as well to add as overlays in the end. That should make for a more interesting stream. Now I understand why YouTubers always complain about editing, says Salul. Yeah, it's a lot of work because it depends on what you are doing. It's a slow job, but the worst part I think is if you are doing tutorial, because you can see I've only made cuts all the time. Well, I mean, it's the same if you do other types of videos, but vlogs are similar. But if you take footage outside from different places and all, it becomes much more creative. Right now it's just repetitive work. If you are doing creative editing, then it can be fun. You can spend hours doing it and you get lost in it, just like when you do music or something else. It depends a lot on the job. Same thing if you have actual, how do you say already, footage with people and real world footage. You will colorize it, you will process it as well, so it can be a lot more interesting. But yeah, when you're doing tutorial, not so much. Okay, this said, I've got a lot of work to do, and yeah, I would like to release the update and get some rest now. So see you in the next few videos. There's free content coming on the channel, but just bear with me. Have a good night, good day, and Merry Christmas to you all. I've got to get OBS to stop the stream. Yep. So thank you for joining. Bye-bye.